Hi, welcome to lab exercise 4.3 where we will be reviewing taxonomy. This is the way that we organize the animals and organisms that we discover. So for example, we have here a wombat and a huaca. Okay, if you don't know what a huaca is, I highly suggest a quick Google search because they're quite interesting little animals. Now you might notice that the wombat and the huaca both belong in the domain Eukarya. That means these are both eukaryotic organisms. If we remember from Biology 1, eukaryotes have a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Usually they are multicellular, but not always. Then we are in kingdom Animalia. That means both of these organisms belong in the animal subdivision. Now, don't read too heavily into that because animal is such a broad term. It not only includes insects, humans, and also some smaller organisms like sea sponges. So those are also considered animals. Then we are in the phylum Chordata. That means both the wombat and the huaca are chordates, or they have a notochord, which later is developed into a spinal cord. So both of these have spinal cords. They are both mammals, but they are a subsect of mammals called marsupial. Both of these are Australian marsupials, but we do have one North American marsupial you may be familiar with, the opossum. So this is the class. The order is Diprotodontia. Then we get into the family, genus, and species. So we're going from the most general to the most specific. Now these creatures are in different families. So if I were to give you the scientific name for a wombat, I would take the bottom two names, the genus and the species, because these are the most specific identifiers. So the wombat would be Wombatus ursinus, okay? And when we write the scientific name, we usually write it in italics. And the first one, the genus, will be capitalized, but the second one, the species, will be lowercase. If I wanted to find the scientific name of the huaca, it's Cetonix brachiosus. So many of these words are going to be based in either Latin or Greek. I'm not sure why scientists decided that both of those things were acceptable, but the other half of these names are going to be entirely just made up. So it's always important to look for the genus and the species because this is the most specific descriptor of this animal. Because as you'll find, if we try to describe the animal by the phylum, well, they both fit into that phylum. They're both chordates. In fact, there's many chordates. If we try to identify it by order, well, they both have the same order, so I wouldn't be able to identify the animal that way. Now, since they are part of the same order, I can assume that all of the information above it is also the same because remember, it's like a funnel. We're going from the least specific to the most specific. So if they're the same at this level, then they're going to be the same at all the levels above that. So question number 1 says llamas, alpacas, and camels are in the same family. So they are both, or they're all three, part of the same family. That means it's reasonable to assume that they will also be in the same order, class, phylum, kingdom, and domain. All of this will be the same. But if I'm talking about llamas, alpacas, and camels, they will definitely be in different species. Without knowing anything else about llamas, alpacas, and camels, I know that they're different species and they may be in different genuses. All right, the scientific name of the brown-throated three-toed sloths is Bradypus variegatus. Now here you have the capital letter and the lowercase letter and all italicized. So this is exactly correct, but it's asking us what is the genus. Well, I know from the huaca that the genus is going to be the first name of the binomial nomenclature and the species is going to be the second. So this would be the genus and this would be the species. That's our review for taxonomy. Now let's do a small activity. So one of the things that we're going to be doing throughout Unit 5 is using something called a dichotomous key. This is kind of like a create your own adventure book where you answer yes or no questions and end up at a specific result. Scientists like to use these dichotomous keys to describe different animals that may closely resemble each other, and it's an easy way to identify them. The thing that I tell my students to do is imagine this is kind of like a game of Guess Who. When I'm playing Guess Who, I don't immediately ask hyper-specific questions, such as, is your character John? What I'm going to ask are very general questions like, is your character a man? Or is your character wearing glasses? And then each question after that, I'm going to get more and more specific. So, for instance, a mean-spirited horned jackrabbit. We could guess and maybe think that we know the answer, but what we're going to do is we're going to answer each question. Does the creature live on land? Yes, then follow this question. No, then follow this question. I think that a jackrabbit lives on land, so I'm going to say yes. Does the creature resemble a human? If it's yes, we're going to go this way. But the answer is no, so we're going to ask this question now. Does the creature have scales? No, we did not describe any scales or observe any scales, so the answer must be jackalope. So this first creature is a jackalope, okay? The second one says a reptilian creature covered in scales with spines along the dorsal ridge, and it likes to eat goats. So these clues tell me that does the creature live on land? Yes, if it eats goats, it probably lives on land. Does it resemble a human? No. So we're going to go here. Does it have scales? Yes, this did have scales, so we are describing a chupacabra. So we will write chupacabra here. Next, a water monster with alligator-like head, long neck, and lives in coastal Georgia. So the first question, does it live on land? No. We're going to go this way now. Does the creature have tentacles? It didn't say, so I'm going to go with no. Does it have a large head like an alligator? Yes. So we are describing the Altamaha. Okay, so write that down here. Okay. Next is a stinky giant humanoid covered in brown fur found in the forests of North America. So we start back at the beginning. Does it live on land? Yes. Does it resemble a human? Yes. Does it have brown fur? Yes. We are describing the Sasquatch. So we will write that down. Giant mountain humanoid covered in white fur. Well, we start back at the beginning. Does it live on land? Yes. Does it resemble a human? Yes. Does it have brown fur? No. I must be describing a yeti. A giant octopus-like creature that takes down ships in the ocean. So I know it does not live on land. So we're going to go with no. Does it have tentacles? Yes. I must be describing the kraken. Never mind, it says octopus. I really think that the kraken is a squid. But for the purpose of this exercise, it is a kraken. The last one is going to be a water monster with a snake-like head and long neck, and it lives in Loch Ness. So, does it live on land? No. Does the creature have tentacles? No. Does it have an alligator head? No. I must be talking about Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. That is what we will be doing for a couple of the exercises in Unit 5, where we will have to identify different organisms using a dichotomous key. What I want you to do right now, though, is we are going to build our own dichotomous key to help us identify these emojis. So what we're going to do here is just map out our questions first, and then we will put our questions into a dichotomous key. So what I want to do is go from the most general description to the most specific description. And I should be able to identify each one of these emojis by the end of my map. So I'm going to choose the most general descriptor. I see that some of them are smiling, some of them are not smiling, some of them have accessories, and some of them don't have accessories. So if I'm just immediately trying to get rid of half of the emojis, I need to ask a question that will eliminate or exclude half of the emojis. And the thing that really stands out to me are accessories, because exactly 4 or half have some sort of accessory. So in my little notes, I'm just going to write shorthand because this is just for me. I'm going to write accessories. Okay. Now on the back, on the final draft, we're going to be more specific than that and write in complete sentences, but this is okay. Now, every single time I ask a question, it has to be a yes or a no. Now, if the answer is yes, I'm going to ask a different question. So if the answer is yes, I'm going to go this way. If the answer is no, I'm going to go this way. So let's just work with yes first. If we have accessories, then I must be talking about Jack, Sarah, Jen, or Ari. So now I have to figure out a way to make it work for them. So if I'm going to eliminate half of these guys, I see that 2 of them are smiling and 2 of them are not smiling. So I'm going to say smile. And again, the answer can only be yes or no. Now, if we're smiling, let's just say yes. If we're smiling, we are either going to be Sarah or Jack. Okay, so I have to find a way to identify Sarah or Jack because they're both smiling. And I see that Jack is wearing sunglasses and Sarah is wearing a halo. It doesn't matter which one we pick. So we are going to say glasses. If the answer is yes, then that means my answer must be Jack. Okay? If my answer is no, then that means my answer must be Sarah. Okay? We can write this all on the back in order. This would be question number 1. This would be question number 2. And this would be question number 3. Now, in 3 questions, I was able to identify Jack and Sarah. So we're going to go on the back, on the next page, and we're going to write our first 3 questions. So, does the emoji have an accessory? Do I know how to spell accessory? So according to my key, if yes, I have an accessory, I'm going to go to question 2. Then question 2 says, is the emoji smiling? Yes, go to 3. Question number 3, does the emoji have glasses? Yes, it's Jack. No, it's Sarah. Notice that I left B blank because I haven't written B yet. This is what happens if the answer is no. So we need to go back to our key and finish all of our no's, okay? So if the emoji is not smiling, remember we're only talking about emojis that have accessories, and these 2 are not smiling. So we have to determine, how do we tell apart Jen from Ari? They're both wearing sunglasses, so that's probably not a very good way to tell them apart. But notice one is making a kissy face and one is not. So that's a really good yes or no question between Jen and Ari. So let's go back to the smile. No, they're not smiling. So are we giving kisses? If the answer is yes, we know immediately that the answer is Ari. If the answer is no, we know immediately that the answer is Jen. So let's add that. We have question 1, 2, 3. This must be question 4. So we can go back here, and that means on question 2, if the answer was no, instead of going to question 3, we're going to go to question 4. And question 4 is going to ask, about a kissy face. Okay, and we need to write in complete sentences. If the answer is yes, it's Ari. And if the answer is no, it's Jen. Okay, no problem there. We are done. In fact, we are done with all the emojis that have accessories. Now we need to figure out the emojis that do not have accessories. So one really obvious thing to talk about is that 2 of them have an open mouth smile and 2 of them have eyebrows. I've seen it done both ways. It doesn't matter which one you want to talk about. So let's just do eyebrows for a second. So our next step is going to be eyebrows. Okay. If the answer is yes, then we are choosing between Mia and Zach. If the answer is no, we are choosing between Bob and Carl. So we need to come up with another question which is going to determine the difference between the emojis with eyebrows, Mia and Zach. So you could say a kissy face again, or you could say a wink. I want to do a wink because I haven't done that yet. So if the answer is yes, are we winking? If the answer is yes, then we know we have Zach. If the answer is no, then we know we have Mia. We're now done with Mia and Zach. The only 2 left are Bob and Carl. Neither of them have eyebrows and both of them have open mouth smiles. So the only way to tell them apart is that one has eyes open and one has eyes closed. So I'm going to say closed eyes. And then if the answer is yes, we know that we have Bob. If the answer is no, we know we have Carl. Now we did quite a few questions here, so let's make sure that we stay organized. We have question 1, question 2, question 3, and question 4. So that means the next question has to be question 5. If the answer is yes, we can go to question 6. If the answer is no, we can go to question 7. So in 7 questions, we found out the identity of all of our emojis. So we need to copy them here. Now that I have copied all of my questions and answers into my dichotomous key, now it's our turn to play Guess Who. If you were in class, you would get paired up and you would be randomly assigned an emoji. But since we're online, we are just going to pick one. So I'm going to randomly pick this little emoji right here. Now, I don't know the emoji's name and I'm not going to cheat and look at the other paper. I'm just going to use my dichotomous key. So does the emoji have an accessory? No, it does not. And my key says go to question 5. Does the emoji have eyebrows? Yes, the emoji does have eyebrows, so I need to go to question 6. Is the emoji winking? No, the emoji is not winking. Since the answer is no, I know that the name of this emoji must be Mia. And if you created your dichotomous key correctly, you should get the correct answer, and we can check those answers here. And what do you know? Mia is the correct answer. So great job on this page. Let's move on to the next activity. The next activity is actually 4 pages of activities. In class, what we do is students rotate between Kingdom Plantae, Kingdom Animalia, Kingdom Fungi, and Kingdom Protist. We do not look at the Monera family because they're really just too small for us to see with our classroom microscopes. And so the students would float from table to table looking through the microscopes and recording what they see in these boxes. Since you do not have access to the microscopes, what we're going to do is look at the PowerPoint where you would find the video. You can find this by scanning the QR code in the top left-hand corner. Now, at the bottom of today's PowerPoint slide, you see this word slides. So we can also look at Kingdom Protista, Fungi, Plantae, or Animalia. So first, I'm going to do kingdom Protista. Okay, I have 4 different images, and what I want you to do is draw a sketch of what you see in the 4 images and then label the name of the image. So if we go to Protista, then we have a ciliate, a diatom, an algae, and an amoeba. And these are part of kingdom Protista. Now don't get confused, there are some algae that belong in kingdom Plantae and some algae belong in kingdom Protista. Some of these lines are a little bit blurry, but for our purposes, these are going to be kingdom Protista. Ciliates and flagellates, they are described by their motion. Diatoms are small creatures that excrete a glass-like substance, and they look like sand under the microscope. Of course, algae, they are single-celled photosynthetic protistas, but larger algae that form structures are going to be considered plants. And then we have our single-celled amoebas. So what I want you to do is draw a picture of these to the best of your abilities and then label its name. What I want you to look at is what features do you see which categorizes it in the family Protista or in kingdom Protista. You will do the same thing for the next kingdom Plantae. So we can go back home by clicking this button and go to kingdom Plantae, and now we have an example of a moss, a fern, a monocot, okay? And then Elodea. I like to view Elodea under the microscope because its chloroplasts are so easily visible. Okay, so we're going to draw an example of these. Then we are going to go to kingdom Fungi, and we're going to look at the different fungi. Now, some of these look different under the microscope than they do to your eyes. For instance, penicillium is used to make the medication penicillin or any derivative of that, like amoxicillin. If you find this on bread per se, it might look like a fuzzy mold over the top of your bread, but under the microscope it looks like this. And then the last kingdom is kingdom Animalia, and we have some different examples from kingdom Animalia, such as a flatworm, a hydra, which is a sea anemone. It comes in 2 different forms, the hydra form, of course, and then the medusa form, which looks more like a jellyfish, the family Cnidarian. Then we have cardiac muscle from a human, and we have a flea. So these are all different examples of kingdom Animalia. Now, for the next 4 weeks after our exam 1 in unit 5, we will be doing a deep dive in kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, and finally kingdom Animalia. So this is kind of a preview of what we might expect in unit 5.